Welcome back, everyone. Season 3 of the Franchise Tagged podcast is here. Check us out wherever you get your podcasts. We are on every single podcast platform now, extended from just Spotify and Apple Music and Amazon last year, right?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely, those were our three last year. We, advertised, hey, wherever you get your podcast. Now we're actually, now we can back up our word
But
with that. I'm Elijah, and that's Gabe,
hi.
in case you have not visited from a prior season. But yeah, today, it's the kickoff of the season, our inaugural video, our inaugural podcast of the season. Let's go ahead and let's get right into it. Do you want to tell them what we got on the docket today?
Yeah, we'll do like a quick rundown of how most podcast episodes will go. We are starting out this season with a lot more subscribers than we had last season, so there are some new faces to the podcast, I'm sure. So basically, we're just going to go over during the season, we'll go over what happened the past week, then some storylines in the current week. We'll have a little segment that's just going to be different, rotating every week, something really fun for y'all, and then we'll do some pick'ems. We'll do some other fun stuff throughout the year. But this episode, we're going to talk about some of the big storylines heading into the season with some of our rookie starter favorites, as well as some big off-season moves. Most recently, we had a pretty big one in the past couple weeks. And then we're going to have a quick little segment for you that I will not spoil, so stick around for that one. And then we're going to talk about some of our favorite week one matchups and then get on out of here. So a nice, concise little podcast. But let's start off with some of our favorite rookie starters. You've got the floor here.
Yeah, I'll start us off. I do host all of the what would you call them? Scouting reports. That's what they're called. I do all of the scouting reports on these rookies coming into the draft. And then a little bit of like a new thing I did this season was, analyzing them with their fits on their new teams, doing some post draft content on those same players. And funnily enough, the players I have listed here, these are the outright starters that I didn't do those post analysis, the post draft analysis videos on. So starting off, Ashton Genty on the Raiders. Now, super high on Genty throughout the entire scouting process. And then he lands with the Raiders, the team we wanted to land him since our very first mock draft we did for the team. And then everything kind of fell into place after that video came out of like, oh yeah, they're going to draft Genty. And now we're here. And honestly, with Genty, I feel like the expectation right now for Genty is a little high given the talent of the offensive line in front of him and the structure of the team. But it's still like he's going to be one of the guys that is easily a top 10 running back this season. It's just like he's not going to be as productive as people expect because of the Raiders offensive line.
Yeah, I think he's going to have a lot more work in the passing game than most people are expecting, because before his like crazy last season at Boise State in college, he was actually more of a receiving back than anything. And then he put on some weight, started running through people, and that's what people see out of him is this big bruiser. But he does have hands. He does play more than just that standard running back role. And I think with Geno under center instead of whoever it would have been, AOC, I think, last season, I think that'll open up the door for a little bit more versatile usage of a versatile back. Even though, Pete Carroll, very much a Marshawn Lynch style back, Chip Kelly, that's their offensive coordinator, right? I'm not mistaking that. Okay. He's more of the run the ball down your throat kind of guy. And so I think they'll use him like that. I'm optimistic for him, but I also think that his receiving upside is definitely going underappreciated for a lot of people.
Yeah, with, contributions as a whole, I think it's pretty easy to say he's going to pass the 1,000-yard mark. But when you take out the receiving contribution and you consider the offensive line, do you think he passes the 1,000-yard mark as a rookie, or do you think he's kept below that?
All purpose, absolutely, he's going to get 1,000. I think there's just too many opportunities. There's no dominant wide receiver one in that offense. Jacoby Myers is unhappy with the situation, and outside of that, I don't really love the receiver room. So it's really Genty and Brock Bowers, and they've got a quality quarterback in Geno now throwing the ball. So there are yards to be gained, and I think Genty is the talent to gain those yards for sure. I think he could approach 1,500 all-purpose yards. That's rushing and receiving. Pretty easily if he stays healthy through his rookie season.
Yep. And then, do you want to kick off any of these people coming up, or am I going to have the floor, the whole rookie?
I actually want to kick off one you don't have here, but you did make a
Okay, go
video
for it.
on, and that is Matthew
Hmm.
Golden of the Green Bay Packers. He recently switched his number to 0, which just makes him exponentially better. He was 22 before. So we all know number theory. He's going to be a lot better at number 0 than he was at number 22. The Packers have had some pretty bad drop issues from their receivers in the past, and I guess in recent history. And I think that Matthew Golden is going to be an absolute monster. I think maybe a slow start to the season, just with Jaden Reed still there, Romeo Dobbs still there. There's a lot of guys there that are still going to be getting touches that are more established in the offense than Matthew Golden. But I think talent wise, Golden does have it, and he's going to make an impact by the end of the year. I think he'll probably end up being their wide receiver one.
Yeah, that's the difficult part for him right now is breaking into a wide receiver one role on a team that hasn't had a wide receiver one the past few seasons and establishing himself within that system to make a name for himself there. And I think, I don't view him as highly as any of the other wide receivers because, I feel like Travis Hunter, he's going to get force fed some balls. I think Tet's going to get force fed some balls because of the offense around them. But, the Packers have been a successful team for a while, and Golden's going in as, just kind of another cog in the machine until the machine changes to making him the wide receiver one.
Yeah. Then we can get into the number 1 overall pick if you would like to, with Cam Ward going to the Titans. He's won the starting job from Will Levis. Not that there was much of a
Yeah.
battle there to begin with. Levis out for the season, and Cam Ward is going to be their starter. I don't think there's anything that Ward can really do that will make them bench him or that will change that starter room. I don't think that they're gonna move to anyone else. I think they're giving it to Cam Ward. Um, I did see that every single one of Miami's starters this past season in college got cut on cut day in the NFL, except for Cam Ward. So he really brought some scrubs to a good place in college football. And so I think he and Calvin Ridley could have a special connection. And I think that that offense could show flashes, but I don't think it's good enough at all to support Cam Ward's play as far as like making them contenders or anything.
Yeah, and we'll kind of get into the big picture there, but specifically when I want to hone in on Cam Ward himself, I think, he will have a considerably positive rookie quarterback season. Certainly not going to be one of the best we've seen in the past 5 years. Uh, cough cough, last season Jaden Daniels, but there's too high of a ceiling there, but I think he's going to have a season where there's not going to be questions about, oh, is this going to be the guy going forward? I think he'll have a serviceable enough season. The team will lose, and it might not be on him. And so we will see, okay, Cam Ward's the guy, and then they build the team around him, as opposed to what a lot of teams get stuck in of drafting the quarterback, being unsure, adding slightly more pieces, and then seeing a downgrade or seeing, oh, for sure, this guy isn't going to be it, and then regimes change, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I'm curious what do you think his stat line is going to be? Because I've got in my head like what I think his stat line could be, but I'm curious to see if you've got one in mind.
Um, I think he probably passes 3,000 passing yards, and I would imagine like a 2-to-1 ratio for touchdowns ends.
I was
So maybe like 16-8, and they don't really have a huge great passing attack because they don't have great weapons for that.
Yeah.
So
I was thinking, I mean, I guess the my touchdown number was a little high in my head. I was thinking 3,500 yards, 25 touchdowns, 10 picks, but I don't know. Maybe a few less touchdowns, maybe it's like closer to 20 touchdowns to 8 or 9 picks, maybe 11 or
mhm.
12. I don't know. I think that they will do just fine. I think Cam Ward's going to be just fine, but I don't think it's going to be like a 4,500 yard passing season from him anytime soon. I don't think the supporting cast is in that position yet.
Yeah, for sure. Then we get into the two-way player. We kind of had a minor debate about this in the middle of last podcast season about you know the the versatility of Travis Hunter on how feasible it would be, and yeah, there's a lot of like obviously he is going to be playing both sides. That's the plan heading into the season, but I feel like expectations on both sides are just too high. for what his contribution will actually be. And how do you feel with what you've been seeing?
Yeah, I honestly, we're not going to know until we see on the field what happens. We're not going to know, oh, they're going to use him for this many snaps on offense or defense. They're leaning towards him being an offensive player first and then coming in on defensive packages. I do know that, but I don't know how, I don't know if he's going to be in dime packages as the second slot corner, or if he's going to be in the nickel as the nickel back, or if he's going to be in, prevent only as like a third safety back there. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know what capacity they're going to want to bring him in, what special
He'll be
formations they
seeing the
have.
defense more than Gronk did. I think that's
Yeah,
safe to
well,
say.
thank the Lord, because Gronk, there's only one memorable defensive play from Gronk, and that was that stupid freaking Dolphins game. Anyways, yeah, I'm excited to see how they use him. I'm excited to see him play. I think he's a very talented player on both sides. I think his intuition is a bit better on the defensive side, and so I will say I am a little disappointed that they're playing him offense first, but it does make sense. You want to pair your best offensive players up together, and if he might be the best wide receiver too that you would have, then I can see why you would want to do that for Trevor Lawrence and for Brian Thomas and for that offense in general.
Yeah, I think, early on when there wasn't as clear of a definition of like offensive first, defensive second, there was definitely like, oh, this guy's going to have, 10 receiving touchdowns and 10 interceptions. And it's like, well,
10 interceptions is like a
but
career year for a
yeah,
full-time corner. That's insane. Like there have been
but
recent years where nobody's had 10 picks in the league. So,
mhm.
but yeah, anyways.
Yeah, I think, with all of that we've seen building up to the start of the regular season, I definitely am kind of it's the inverse of what I thought heading into when I was scouting him and looking at the tape. I was like, oh, this guy's going to be a great corner and maybe a decent wide receiver, and they're playing it the opposite way. So we'll see how that pans out. I really don't have like a numbers mark like I did with Gentry and with Cam Ward, because it's just that muddy on what does it look like with Travis Hunter on both sides of the field.
Yeah, and the thing we've never really talked about, what if he fails? Like what if he's a bust? Do they say, "Oh, well maybe he was a bust because we tried him on offense," and do they go defense full time if he's not being successful on offense? Like what's the succession plan if he doesn't immediately show off or show out at receiver or at DB? Like do they go to a full-time position and say, "No, you're not doing two-way anymore until you can prove to us that you can play properly one way?" Or like
Mm-hmm.
what's the deal there? Like that was just something that popped into my head. Like that's not something I've thought about. I've never considered, "Oh, what if he's not good?"
Yeah. Yeah, and when you're picking a guy top two, I feel like that's not often on people's minds of like what is the bad downside of this? What's the floor? A lot of it is projecting ceilings, hoping to see a really high ceiling, and that doesn't always happen. But we'll see what happens with Travis Hunter specifically. Um, but do you have much to talk about on
I
that
think,
guy?
yeah, I do want to talk about Abdul Carter, at least about the Giants in general, just because that defensive front, I honestly don't think Abdul Carter will hit crazy stat marks year one. And it's not because he
Mm-hmm.
lacks the talent or anything. I think it's because he's competing with Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau, who are already established pass rushers. Thibodeau much less so
Yeah.
than Burns, but Thibodeau's been in that scheme for a while, and he's established himself with the coaching staff, I'm sure. And maybe Abdul Carter rotates in, but I don't think any of them are 100% snap the ends. I think that they'll rotate in
Mm-hmm.
and they'll have some packages with Thibodeau and Carter, some packages with Thibodeau and Burns, some packages with Burns and Carter. And so I don't think any of them are going to be there full time. And something that I noticed a lot last season or thought about a lot last season was the way the Eagles did things with their rotational pass
Yeah.
rush and how effective that was. And if you can get three high quality pass rushers and continue to rotate them, and some plays Burns is coming off the right tackle side and some plays he's coming off the left tackle side, you're switching it up on not just your defense and keeping everything fresh for your team, you're also switching it up for the opposing team and making sure that that left tackle that plays left tackle 100% of the time is going against three different guys throughout the game that all pass rush differently, that all have different sets of
Mm-hmm.
moves. And it's just, it could be scary, but I also don't think it'll lead to a 20 sack season for Abdul Carter or even like a 12 or 13 sack season, which I think would be a mark for like a great rookie year.
Mm-hmm. I think, as you mentioned with the comp to the Eagles there, you also have Dexter Lawrence in the middle. Like, this is going to be a diverse and deep defensive line something that they haven't had because we had Thibodeau coming into his own. They didn't have Brian Burns for a couple of years of having Kayvon, and then now you add Abdul Carter. They now have that depth in that room alongside Dexter Lawrence, who's a monster in the middle, and it's going to lead to a really good unit, but it's not going to lead to a very great, individual season for Abdul Carter. And you could see him hit like 8 sacks, and that would be really good because you're going to have the sacks spread out across everybody else as well. I think primarily for Abdul, it's going to be those pressures. It's going to be, really getting a quarterback off of his spot and leading to errant throws. But I don't think with the quality of players around him that he's going to be the standout guy on that defensive line.
I also wonder if they use him as a bit of a chess piece and move him around from just being an edge rusher. If they throw him at off ball for a couple plays, if they've got some lacking off ball play, or if they throw him at like hey, drop out into a zone if they've got 5 on the line,
For sure. That would be my expectation is like, hey, we're gonna show that we're blitzing 6, and then we're gonna pull Abdul Carter into coverage and let the 2 linebackers go.
Yeah, but I think that's all we've got for big rookie starters. I threw Matthew Golden into the mix there as well. If we want to get into some of the bigger moves of the offseason, you've got a lot listed here. I'd be okay chopping this down to like 3 or 4 of them,
sure.
mostly taking out the trenches just because I don't really have much to say about them. But first move, I mean, most recent, got to talk about it. Micah Parsons to the Packers.
No, Kenny Clark. Oh, Hold on. The big name is clearly Kenny Clark moving. Yeah, he just signed a giant extension a couple of years ago, and it's Micah Parsons. You got me.
Yeah. I'm kicking myself. I'm kicking myself because I almost made a video about 2 days before this happened, and I was like, "This is different." Like the Terry McLaurin contract situation, the Trey Hendrickson situation, other holdouts that have happened this offseason that have led to deals, and even in the past, like in the past several years, deals or holdouts that have led to deals. That is a common thing, or a player will request a trade and then sign a deal just a little bit later. And I just had this gut feeling. I was like, this is different. And it was partially because of the message that Micah left to Cowboys fans where he was like, I do not want to be part of this organization anymore. It wasn't like I want to be compensated fairly. It wasn't anything except for I don't want to be here. And that's different from a lot of guys where it's like, I just want to be paid what I'm worth. And if a trade request is what it takes to do that, then I'm submitting the trade request. Jerry ruined everything again. I love not being a Cowboys fan because I don't have to deal with
Honestly,
that
it's great.
buffoon.
Now, however, on the flip side of that, Lions fan, Patriots fan,
yep.
I feel like we were both teams that were brought up as possible spots for Micah. Now with the Lions, I wasn't like super bought in on that because I was like, that's not really how we roll. We're not going to give a bunch of first away for Micah Parsons. Did you see anything about like the Pats landing him? How much stock did you put in that?
I didn't, just because I don't think that we're in a position where adding Micah makes us contenders. So I don't think trading away a bunch of picks. And the other thing, Packers traded 2 firsts and a starting caliber player. We would have had to trade probably equal to that. And for us, 2 firsts is like 2 top 10, top 15 picks, probably. I'm optimistic for the Patriots. So maybe it'll be like 16 to 20, but like those could be top 10 picks. The Packers, they're not going to be top 10 picks. As much as you can hate on the Packers and say they're overrated and everything, those are not going to be high value picks. Those are going to be bottom half of the first round for both of them, and an aging veteran player, Kenny Clark. Good D tackle, but he's coming up on 30 years old, and you're trading away Micah Parsons for some late first round picks and Kenny Clark. And that's like, on paper, 2 firsts and a starting D tackle for a starting edge rusher. That's a decent trade.
That's a haul.
It's a haul.
Yeah.
But in actuality, in practice, I think we're going to look back at this, especially with Jerry calling the shots and drafting and everything. I think we're going to look back at this as like a terrible, terrible move for the Cowboys. But also that all depends on how he does at the Packers, and I don't really have any expectations for him there.
Yeah, I think in terms of the Packers side of things, they got a steal because they affect like, all right, with those firsts, and when you value those firsts, they're basically like just say it's like 3 seconds, right? 3 early seconds. And if a bad team in the league wanted to trade 3 seconds for Micah Parsons, that would have been insane that trade went through.
Yeah.
this is just such a steal for the Packers. And then, yeah, Kenny Clark was a great player for them, but Micah Parsons at the end of the day. And so you're kind of right. I don't have an expectations for Micah Parsons to pull up to the Packers and then immediately have his best season yet, but it very well could happen, and I just hope it doesn't happen in week 1.
Yeah. So the other thing is Micah is going to take a lot of attention. So maybe we see Lucas
Mm-hmm.
Van Ness start going crazy on the other side, or any of their other edge rushers who I can't
Yeah.
think of right now. But
Yeah, because they have had an edge rush by committee. It's almost like in one offseason they decided to flip everything on its head.
draft a
Wide
receiver in the
receiver by
first
committee,
round.
sure. let's go ahead and get a wide receiver one. And Micah Parsons, top tier edge. Let's go ahead and get that instead of this rotating door of good depth, but it's not Micah Parsons' depth. It's not that quality of a starter. So yeah, they really did flip everything on their head with one offseason.
Yeah, and seeing stuff that doesn't work, kind of flipping it on its head. It's good to change things when things aren't working. So props to the Packers there. Go Pack.
Next up, we've got Devontae Adams heading to the Rams right after, they cut ties with Cooper Kupp, and they upgraded, they upgraded. Can't say that they didn't. Man, this is going to be scary because we've seen a few years of Devontae Adams, being separated from MVP Rodgers. He went back and he had a Rodgers when that was a body on the field. Um, and he did have his little reunion with Carr, but like this is now him returning to having one of those best quarterbacks in the league. And if, the Rams stay healthy on offense for the year, it's going to be very difficult to cover him and Puka Nacua.
The problem is that if they stay healthy, Stafford is
Yeah.
still dealing with that back issue. I've seen a lot of fear that he's not going to play this season. And that's all speculation from fans, so I don't think there's any stock in it. But the fact that it's been such a lingering issue for him in the past and now, and he's older, and all these things adding up, and I'm cautiously optimistic. I think Devontae still has plenty left in the tank. Puka, obviously, young receiver, very talented, and I think that offense could be great. But if Jimmy G's at the helm, I think it's Derek Carr Raiders all over again, but with a second receiver who's a little better. Like that, honestly, I don't see that being much better than a Raiders offense in recent years.
Now, with the latest from Sean McVay, Matthew Stafford's going to be starting week 1. That's the expectation. And if he remains starting after a few games where he's actually getting laid into and hit, we'll see. But, and that's the big if with the Rams this season is their health. And they have a great defense, and past few seasons they've had a good offense, and now you're just injecting more into that offense. It's hard to not have a great outlook on their season, but injuries happen, and so it's hard to commit to that great outlook.
Yeah, theoretically, everything goes well according to plan. Stafford comes back at full form and plays the full season. Terrifying offense, good playoff contenders for sure, and everything looks amazing. But it's always that if, and it's hard to project for injuries, but you kind of have to think about it. Then do we want to get into Geno being traded to the Raiders as the next big move we talk about? That happened in the offseason, and I was a little shocked. And then the Seahawks went and grabbed Sam Darnold, and I'd almost rather talk about Sam Darnold on the Seahawks and what a disaster I think that's going to be than Geno to the Raiders. But both things can be discussed.
Yeah, I think I threw in Geno because the Raiders were busy with, the new coach and really fitting the team to the vision of Pete Carroll. And they did that kind of quick, and not to say that there's not going to need to be some building, cough, cough, the offensive line, as previously mentioned, but they did it pretty quick for where a team usually sits, and then just one offseason of rebuilding. I think that they did a good job immediately morphing that over. Now, on the Sam Darnold side of things, I think, you get a decent deal done with him. It's like 33 a year. It's a little high given 1 year of really great production versus the seasons he's had in the past. but it's like there's just a lot to balance with that of Kevin O'Connell and the scheme not requiring quarterback play akin to the 49ers, and then you're paying a guy a good bit, but it's an upgrade over Geno because he's younger, and you're playing out the same success story that Geno had, where he was this downtrodden journeyman and then came out into his own. So I feel like it's not going to be the best thing to happen for Seattle, but it's above like a bridge quarterback.
I
You can have better expectations than just having uh,
I'm
Nathan Peterman out
I'm
there.
much lower. I'm much lower than you are on Sam Darnold. I
Are you?
I think that that was a horrific signing. I think that a quarterback having a career of bad production and bad decisions, a year of good production and good decisions, I think that can be a good sign, something like Geno Smith. But the difference between that and Geno Smith is Geno was homegrown as far as his production and his development went. He was brought up in the Seahawks system and he showed off in the Seahawks system on a cheap deal and then was extended and was given the reins. And Darnold sucked and then went to a Kevin O'Connell system where everybody looks good and then got a huge bag off of it, off of 1 year in a Kevin O'Connell system. And I don't see that leading to a crazy amount of success. And maybe that's me being cynical, but I just don't like Sam Darnold as a quarterback outside of the Kevin O'Connell system. And because he's not in a Kevin O'Connell system anymore, he's not on the Vikings. I don't think he's going to be good. I think he's going to revert back to his Jets days, and maybe it's a little better than the Jets, but that Vikings offensive line pretty damn good, and the Seahawks offensive line notably horrific. So I don't think that going from a team with Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, a great offensive line and a great head coach to a team with no offensive line, trading away their best receiver and an unproven young coach is a move up for Sam Darnold in anything but the monetary department.
Yes, I'm not saying he's going to have a better year than last year. I think that the Seahawks got better, but that's not by a lot. And I don't have like playoff aspirations for this team just because it feels like so much else on the team, with the DK trade, cutting of Lockett, like they changed the team. And whereas the Raiders changed the team from being really bad to now shaping the mold of a new coach, the Seahawks are maintaining the same coach and, altering things. And, they got better through the draft. Every team tries to get better through the draft. I think that they improved at the places they needed to during the draft. It's just like, it's a very different team than it was last year. I don't think it's going to be the same quality. It'll be a little better. I don't see, Sam Darnold really staking a claim as being a top tier quarterback for the next 3 years of that deal. It's just better than any other quarterback system that they really could have had
I
in this free agency, in this offseason, in this
They
draft.
could have just not traded Geno. That's my perspective. They traded Geno. He didn't leave. They traded him for a third round pick.
Mm-hmm.
I think they should have kept Geno. I think they would be better heading into next season with Geno Smith at quarterback than they would with Sam Darnold. And that's why I'm cynical for the Seahawks because I think they made a bad trade and then a bad signing. And so I don't think that I think if they had just kept Geno and maybe traded DK because he's a bit of a head case and they don't want to deal with him and so they're going to get rid of him and then Geno goes out there with basically the same offensive line, same weapons and everything, I think you get worse. But I think taking a downgrade at the quarterback position and getting rid of your top receiver, and I mean they did take Gray Zabel in the draft, and he's been pretty good in the preseason. So maybe some of their offensive line problems are fixed, but I just don't like the Seahawks offseason as a whole. I don't think they did enough
Yeah,
to
it's
make any improvements at all.
yeah, that's a valid point because it did feel like it was falling apart for them and they were putting pieces together, not that they had control. Like that was kind of why I mentioned with the Raiders, they were molding a thing together with a vision, and the Seahawks felt like, they're making like their vase on the spinny wheel of
Yeah.
pottery and then it starts falling and they're just trying to pick it back and put it back together. So, I think individually, I think Sam Darnold versus Geno Smith, you have a valid point there with, they're interchangeable. Why fall apart in the first place?
Yeah.
But with that, and with, kind of a deeper conversation about the quality of those teams, we can transition into our segment.
Yeah, so we're going to be going ahead and moving over to an NFL team tier list. And, well, actually, 3, 2, 1. We're going to go ahead and move over to an NFL team tier list. We've got all the tiers over here on the screen. You can see Super Bowl contenders, playoff locks, playoff hopefuls, dark horse candidates, fun players, not good, and tankathon. So which side of the spectrum would you like to start on? Because I think the top and bottom tiers are both pretty easy to fill out. I'm just curious
Yeah.
which you're most interested in.
And it's that middle section. I think the best way to go about this is in the order of the teams listed at the bottom. It keeps us bouncing from top to bottom. It doesn't lock us into like these are going in order. Gives us a little bit of dynamicism, if that's a word.
I don't think it is, but we'll go with it. So starting off here, Patriots are the first team listed. And, I personally, I think they're Super Bowl contenders. But I guess to be more realistic, I would put them in the dark horse level. I think that there is a chance that they could make a run at the playoffs, but not a very good chance. I think that they are a quality team that has made improvements with a good quarterback, a good coach, but they still have a ways to go before I think they're locks for the playoffs or that they are expecting to contend for a spot.
Yeah, I think, major improvements this season. You just like off the top of my head, that running back, man, Travion, man,
Cheers.
pretty high up there.
Trade him to me.
No. Yeah, I would agree with the dark horse pick. They haven't shown enough to be that playoff hopeful team. They've put all these pieces together. Now we have to see how the pieces gel together. And so dark horse is a good spot for them right now with the, improvements across the board. Really, it was dark days for you.
Yeah.
A couple seasons.
Yeah, it was. I think we can blitz through some of these a little faster than discussing each in depth. We got 49ers up next.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have any I've got a place I'm thinking they're at, but I want to see if you're agreeing.
I'm feeling playoff hopeful.
That's what I was
honestly.
feeling as well.
It feels like they've fallen apart. They're not where they have been, and the years are taking their toll.
Yeah, receivers getting
Vikings?
less healthy. Yeah, or Vikings. I think are playoff locks. I don't think there's any chance that they don't make playoffs. And I think if JJ had another year of development, so if he had actually played his rookie season instead of Sam Darnold, I think they'd be Super Bowl contenders or bordering on that. But for me, they're gonna be in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I would almost lean playoff hopefuls, but with how good of a season they had last year with Sam Darnold, they got to be playoff locks.
Yeah.
Ooh, now the Jets.
The Jets are the team that. So when we were setting this up, you were like, pick a team that you think has fun players. The Jets were the team that I thought had fun players. They've got Breece Hall, Braylon Allen, Garrett Wilson, Justin Fields. Of course, we're big fans. So they're going to be fun to watch, but I don't think they're going to do jack shit.
I think it's going to be a tough first year rebuild, but they might be competitive in some games. They might not win a lot of them, but they might be competitive, closer to like the Panthers and the Chiefs game at the end of last year, where it was like, how are the Panthers doing this?
Yeah, exactly.
It'll kind of be like that.
Yeah. Then we got the Giants. I'm thinking not good.
Yeah, I think you could safely say not good.
You could say fun players for their defensive line, but honestly, I think they're just not good.
Whoa. You ignored the most fun player on the team, the Mr. Jameis Winston? Come on.
He is fun, but he's not going to play. It's going to be Russ and Jackson Dart. Then we got the Dolphins.
We'll land on not good.
The Dolphins are one that I have to remove my bias of being an NFC East fan. I want to put them in not good, unironically.
NFC East, eh?
AFC East, whatever, same shit. It's not. I take that back. But I want to put them in not good, but I'll let you decide if they've got fun players or not. Or if they're dark horse.
Honestly, they're kind of dark horse to me. It's weird. They've had a weird couple of years behind Tua with all of that Tua stuff. And then just the team as a whole feels like it's just been stagnant. And they aren't getting better. We haven't seen them have a massive fall off. So they just have to be this middle of the road team. And I feel like Dark Horse is those middle of the road teams that you could see moving up. more so than you could see them moving down. So I'm gonna put the Dolphins there. Is that align with your
That's
non-biased
Yeah,
beliefs?
that's fair with me. I think the dark horse aspect is if everybody stays healthy and Tyreek doesn't like fall off a cliff age
Mm-hmm.
wise and explosiveness wise, I think that they're a dark horse candidate. Um,
Yeah.
but if injuries take over, I think they're definitely dropping down to the not good tankathon tier, where if Tua takes another hit, I seriously wonder. Now Buccaneers, I think we're playoff hopefuls for the Bucks.
I would honestly say playoff lock, considering divisional competition
That's fair.
and getting
I
the
guess
division title.
I'm a little higher on this next team. I'll drop them into locks, but the next team is the Falcons, and I'm a little higher on the Falcons than I think you might be. So I do think that division is getting more competitive while still being relatively weak. But I'm okay putting the Falcons in playoff hopefuls rather than the other way around because the Bucks have proven something more than the Falcons have.
Yeah, and that's about where I would align on that. Would be the Bucks being the locked team and the one to take the crown from, whereas the Falcons are the up and comers. They're hopeful to be able to take that crown.
Okay.
Oh, this next team.
Cardinals.
I'll let you lead the
I
way.
think they've got some fun players, but I'm okay putting them in not good as well. I think that they're past the point of being contenders. I don't think that they're moving up very much. Marvin Harrison has to have a better season, and maybe some defensive additions have to do a little better. But I'll leave the final decision up to you.
It's hard to not think of Kyler Murray as a fun player, and with Marvin Harrison, you obviously want to see a better season, and you can root for those players. But as a whole, they're not good.
Yeah, I think Greg Dortch is fun, personally.
You know what? You added another name to the list. Let's throw him in fun place.
Yay! Who do they take in the first round this year? I forget.
Oh, good golly.
It was a
Um,
defensive end, I think. Edge rusher or something.
I feel like it was. I feel like it was trenches. Walter Nolan. Yeah,
Oh,
D tackle.
yeah. Not as fun of a pick as they could have had. Then
Should have picked more fun.
should have picked more fun. Then maybe, well, they're already in fun players. Greg Dortch is fun enough.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, we've got the Eagles, and I think that they are the first addition to Super Bowl contenders, obviously coming off that season.
Mm-hmm.
Great team, great, well-rounded. I don't think there's many holes in that roster, so not too much to
Yeah.
say there.
Easy thing to agree with there.
Yep. You want to kick us off in this next few?
Yeah. Yeah. I'll take the next few here with the Baltimore Ravens. They're definitely a playoff lock. Are they a Super Bowl contender? And
My
that's where my
my little
my
heart,
gripe is.
my little heart says yes. My little heart says there's 4 Super Bowl contenders. There's 3 on the AFC side and 1 on the NFC side. And outside of that, maybe there's 5, but my little heart says that I would not put the Ravens in the same tier as the Buccaneers. I would put them a tier above.
Okay, I can with that frame of reference. I'll agree with that. Next up is the Seahawks. I have them as one of the dark horse candidates because they they got worse. They would have been a playoff hopeful last year, but everything fell apart from last year. I just have them as a dark horse where like they might end up having more wins than the Niners, and that would be crazy, but it could happen. I just don't think that they're part of the fun players or a not good tier.
I would personally put them in not good, but I'll respect the dark horse placement. I just personally am so low on Sam Darnold that I'm like there is no way that I'm putting them personally anywhere above not good. But we can get on to the
And then,
Panthers.
oh boy, the Panthers,
I think they're
my
dark
baby
horse.
boys.
I think they're dark horse for sure.
Yeah,
They're
I think that they're, if I'm gonna actually order them, left to right, they're upper dark horse.
Yeah.
The Seahawks are the bottom dark horse.
Yeah.
Uh, more of a shot in hell than the Seahawks.
Yeah,
But
I think I equate the Panthers to the Patriots. I think they're very similar
yes,
positions of the rebuild where they've got a quarterback, they've got some pieces, decent head coach, but we just haven't seen them put it together yet. And I think Drake May is better than Bryce Young, but I think that they're both in the same position of like the potential is better than the on the field performance so far.
all right. You want to kick off this next one?
Yeah, I think Jaguars honestly can go in fun players. We don't have enough towards the bottom of the list, but the Jaguars definitely have some fun players. I don't really see them being competitive this year, but I would listen to an argument against that.
Yeah, it's weird, the coaching and the just the really interesting moves they've made. You, you almost want to go dark horse. I agree with your assessment that we don't have enough towards the bottom. The skew here is a little off, but I feel like they've got the fun players. It's just like hard to put them above the Texans to make it, from division and to really think like, are we suddenly now going to get a Jaguars team that can rack up more than 9 wins and look decent?
Yeah, actually,
Don't
thinking
know.
about the actual definitions of the tiers, I don't think they make playoffs at all. I don't think there's any chance they make
Yeah.
playoffs. AFC's too competitive. They're not good enough to win their division. So,
hmm
all right, fun.
It's gonna go fun players.
All right, so the Lions, they're tankathon for sure, right?
Definitely. The blue matches up as well, as long as you didn't change the colors of your
No, I
tiers.
did not.
Definitely gotta just tank for Arch Manning at this point. You don't have a quarterback. Um, I'm gonna go with Super Bowl contenders.
They were the second NFC team that I was like there's one NFC team, and then I was like, ooh, the Lions are good though. So they were like
And
the one
back
that
your
I was like,
mind.
all right, if there's five, it's the Lions, and then it's obviously the three in the AFC. But
Now, of course, all of the Vikings fans are gonna be pissed because it was like, oh, we were both really good teams, and you just beat us in one more game, and we both lost in the playoffs, and here you are putting yourself in Super Bowl contenders. That's
I
how they sound,
see that, and
even
I
though they're
raise you
from
JJ
Minnesota.
McCarthy, the big old question mark. So respect
Yes.
that, Vikings fans. From an
Yes.
unbiased Patriots fan, I think that the only reason that the Vikings are playoff locks and not Super Bowl contenders is JJ McCarthy. I said that already. But
Mhm.
next we've got the Broncos. And I think that they're probably playoff locks after how Bo Nix played his rookie season. I don't like him personally, but that's just an issue of me thinking that he's being overrated, which I still believe. But in the scheme, I think he's a very good scheme fit and able to execute the Sean Payton scheme very well.
Definitely. I think, when you have as good as a defense as they have, and then you go ahead and you add Ja Barron and you add an injection into the team that they did through the draft. I really like their draft. Their draft was pretty good, in my opinion. I can agree with playoff lock. Um, I definitely think I like them more than the Falcons, who we have yet to see what a true Penix offense looks like, and the Niners, who are crumbling apart into pieces of injury and trade requests.
I look at this next team, the LA Rams, and I see the San Francisco 49ers. Their logos blur together for
Mm-hmm.
me. I think they're in the same position where great pieces. I don't think it can be argued that there are great pieces on both these teams. Great coaches. I don't think that can be argued either, but there's just that little bit of can they do it? There's
Yes.
something wrong with both teams. And now we get into the Chargers, the other LA team. What are
Hmm.
you feeling here?
Oh man,
I think they're
Chargers.
I think they're playoff hopefuls. I think they're
They gotta be.
yeah.
They really do. They
If
have things in place better than the Patriots and the Panthers do.
oh,
They really
absolutely.
do.
Absolutely.
So you got to take them that extra tier above.
Yeah. If they do well this season, I don't if man, do you don't you're not online. Never mind.
No.
Justin
Mm-mm.
Herbert is if man. So anytime the
Oh,
word
okay.
if
I
is
get
said
it.
around Justin Herbert, it's Justin Herbert. Anyways, Cowboys,
Okay.
can we put them in tankathon, please?
Yeah.
It's that or not good.
I'm trying to think of a single player that would be fun. I definitely can't think of any. Um.
All right, that's just being petty, man. we're big CD
um.
Lamb fans here, but I think that they are in the market for a new team and a new owner, hopefully.
Yeah. Things really aren't looking great for them. George Pickens, I guess.
Yeah, their offense looks fun, but there's no running back to accompany the two
Yeah.
good receivers, and there's no great wide receiver three or tight end. Shoemaker's fine, but
It's like it's bordering on Tankathon.
I'll put him in not good. I think
Not
I think
good. We'll go
Tankathon is
not good.
reserved for one team.
There's one team that I'm looking at in the
Yeah, of
lineup.
course.
Yep.
Commanders, I think, are playoff locks. I think they
Yep.
walk away with a playoff berth for sure. They walk away with not
Yep.
with that division because the Eagles are in it, but I think that they're
hmm
probably the 5 seed if we're being realistic.
All right, and then next we can go ahead and we can pull back the curtain and reveal the Saints to be the team in Tankathon,
Yeah,
and that's that.
it's not surprising. Then we got Packers. I see them the same as I see the Vikings. So I'm gonna say that they're
Hmm.
probably playoff locks, but it's tough to throw three playoff locks from the same division in there. Um,
Yeah.
so
On the one hand, though, we did have the two best teams of the NFC West in playoff hopeful, so we made space for it. We really did.
yeah, that's true. Then we've got the Raiders. This is a dark horse team, man.
It really is. They're the inverse of the Seahawks, as I stated, putting things together as opposed to trying to pick up a falling Jenga set.
Yeah.
Um,
They're the
I'll
dark
go
horse.
dark horse.
Dark horse tier, honestly, to me is just the if tier. Like I almost want to put the Chargers
It
here
is
just
the
because it's
Justin
like
Herbert.
if everything goes well, then they're gonna be in the playoffs. But then we've got the next Super Bowl contender, Kansas City Chiefs. We haven't seen a game yet this season, so I'm not mad about them yet. But just you
Mm-mm.
wait until episode 1 of the podcast after week 1. Colts, honestly, I could see them going in tankathon. Like they're
Really?
trotting out Daniel Jones as starting quarterback, Elijah.
Yeah,
No team
I
trots out
am
Daniel
aware of that.
Jones and doesn't want an improvement at quarterback. So,
Who did they just draft? Wow,
didn't they draft Tyler Warren?
they did.
Yeah.
And
I think they're setting up for a new quarterback. I think they're setting their team up to have a new
I
captain.
I'm gonna veto the tankathon. I'm gonna put them in not good.
Okay.
After a few more teams, you might understand why.
Okay.
Next up we've got the Bills.
They were the last Super Bowl contenders on my mind. Or if we got the Ravens there, we got to have the Bills there.
Yeah, that's fair. I think the Bills have done really incredible the past couple of seasons where they did have a lot of departures and they continued to be good. And they continued to have young talent that did step up. And as long as you are projecting, the same tier of play from those players that stepped up, they're Super Bowl contenders for sure.
Yeah, and
Ooh.
what's his name? James Cook. He signed his extension, so there's no holdout there anymore. Texans, I think, would be playoff locks. I think they're better than the Falcons. I think they're better than the two AFC West teams. But actually, they got rid of Laramie Tunsil, didn't they?
They did weaken their offensive line.
Which was
They
already
did
not
add
good.
two wide receivers from the same
The Iowa State boys.
team.
Yeah. I'm okay putting him in hopefuls, but like knowing that is like the upper echelon of playoff hopefuls. Like they're right up there with the Chargers for how good they
Yeah,
can
and
be.
with the division, I think it's similar to the NFC West, where they are going to be the best in the division, but they are the best and they're just in playoff hopefuls.
Yeah.
Like they're closer to a lock. Honestly, given the same argument I made for the Buccaneers with that division, I think they have to go lock.
Okay.
Who's gonna DC them?
Yeah, that's fair. And
You know?
the Rams and 49ers, it's like, all right, which one of these teams is going to stumble into the the division
The win.
title, right?
Yeah.
So that's why they're both in hopefuls. And all right, I'm down with that. Now we got the Bears, and I think they've got to go dark horse. I think it's the Patriots, the Panthers, where they've got to go in that same tier, that if tier, if Caleb Williams.
I think I can agree with you because if we put all of the NFC North teams in the top 3 tiers, that feels heavily biased.
Oh, I was thinking upper. They're a dark horse at the
upper
most.
dark horse. Yeah.
Well, no.
Yeah.
At the most, they're a dark
Oh,
horse.
at the most?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that they definitely are a dark horse candidate because they're definitely past the not good, and I think they're past fun players as well with just the things they did, the competitiveness they showed last season with the coach they had last season.
Yeah.
To
And
now,
they've got Ben Johnson. Yeah.
I see it as an improvement across the board from last season. So they escaped the bottom half of the board here.
Now we've got the Browns. Not good or tankathon.
Tankathon.
All right. And then we've got the Bengals. Definitely upper tier, especially retaining Trey Hendrickson. I think this is their last year of being like playoff lock, Super Bowl contender area. I almost like them more than any of the playoff lock teams, but less than the Super Bowl contenders. Like they're in a weird in between area to me.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I it's really iffy because I feel like they didn't make a clear cut upgrade from last season, and we saw how last season went with MVP caliber Burrow and the team that just wouldn't defend.
Do we
It is really iffy.
do we want to
I
leave them in
think
hopefuls then? As like if the defense performs at league average or just below league average, they're in the playoffs, but we can't trust them to perform at that level.
I can. I'm comfortable putting them at top of playoff hopefuls, despite
Okay.
them being one of those better offenses of the entire AFC and thus the league. It's the defense that is the issue, and the defense, in my opinion, hasn't really taken a step. It's been stagnant.
Yeah. Then we've got these last two teams, the Titans. I'm feeling not good for them. I don't even think they have enough fun players. So I'm thinking
Yeah,
they're stuck in not good. Towards the upper end,
I can think of
but
two players that I would maybe consider fun, but it's because I don't know what it looks like.
yeah.
Like,
And then the Steelers. I I'm criminally low on the Steelers. I want to put them in tankathon so bad because I just don't believe Rodgers can put anything together. Um, but we know they're gonna be 9-8, so
8-1.
8-1.
Um, but that doesn't make you good, and it doesn't mean you got any fun players. So I don't want to jump them into dark horse just because of that.
Yeah, no, we're not putting them in dark horse. Hell no.
It's gonna be not good
Okay,
for me.
all right. And this is our final team tier list. I like this. I like how this has come out.
This is really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
I
only
agree
one
with
that I
this
really
all.
don't like is the Bengals in playoff hopefuls, but I understand why they're there. And so I'm not pressed about it. I just don't like the fact that that's how things are because it could so easily
Hmm.
not be that way. But
You want to make that last second
I
change? Put them
don't.
right at
I
the.
don't.
Okay,
I don't.
then we leave it.
Yeah.
Exactly. You can't have regrets if you don't regret it.
Everybody,
So
let us know down in the comments down below how you feel about this tier list and how wrong we are about all these things. Vikings fans rip into us, Packers fans rip into us
oh
over
yeah,
those NFC North placements, and leave
like
us.
hey, you're still in tier 2. All right,
You're
could have
making
thrown
you're
you in
making the
playoff
playoffs.
hopefuls.
You're making the
You're better
playoffs.
than the Bengals.
All right, we'll get back into the standard podcast now. Take us into these week 1 matchups.
Yeah, I really do just want to highlight a real handful of them that they're not gonna be the biggest. Well, one of them might be, but these are the ones that I'm looking forward to seeing, just because of particular storylines that are really surrounding them, and that would be with the Steelers versus the Jets, where we basically have a quarterback swap occurring, and while there was coaching shifts all for the Jets throughout the end of Rodgers' era and then entering this new era with Aaron Glenn, I think that, at the core, these two teams, as kind of evidenced by our tier list that we just did, we're not high on them, but it's just going to be interesting to see that quarterback duel of the quarterback swap take place.
Yeah, it's really interesting that happened week 1. That it was. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we're not going to pretend that Justin Fields was the Steelers quarterback all of last year because they screwed him over so that they didn't have to give a better draft pick. But I'm
But we're not going to pretend that he shouldn't have been.
right. Of course, he was better than Russell Wilson, and I will die on that hill absolutely. Next up, we've got Panthers Jaguars. This is a rookie matchup. This is Travis Hunter versus Tet McMillan. Hopefully, we get to see that actual matchup in the games, but
Yeah.
I'm not so sure we will, just because I don't know where Tet is going to play on the offense. I would imagine outside because he is an outside
Mm-hmm.
receiver. I don't think they're throwing him as a big slot.
Yeah.
And I don't really see Travis Hunter playing outside. Maybe he gets a couple boundary snaps, but either way, it'll be very interesting to see how those rookies play outside of against each other, just to see how Tet is, to see how Travis is in actual NFL play.
Yeah, a great one to watch, with the retrospect of like, let's see how these, rookies go at it. And almost in the same vein, you could consider the Raiders playing the Patriots.
I was
With
thinking
these
that, yeah.
running backs, like, it's the same vein. It's the same, like, these are similar tier teams, and well, okay, one's a little worse, but similar-ish tier teams, and we're watching a great rookie to rookie, like, every drive you see of the field, you're seeing some rookies on the field at those same positions. It'll be interesting and fun to watch.
Yeah, that Patriots Raiders game is going to be a good litmus test to see how good each of the team's offseason additions and changes were, because they're brand new teams from last season, more or less. I
Yeah.
mean, the Patriots less so than the Raiders, but the Raiders, new coach, new quarterback, new running back, new offense, basically. The Patriots, new coach, new offensive line, new
New running
running
back,
back, some new weapons
maybe.
outside. And so, yeah, it's going to be really interesting. And then we've got a possible game of the year in week one, the Ravens
Yeah.
and Bills. These are two teams that
And
go at each other. And
yeah.
boy, is it always fun.
Yeah, and great schedule this, Sunday night football. We got the Ravens and the Bills. That's gonna be insane. Um, it's really like there's not much to really harp on. These are teams that are at the top, are established at the top. There's not really like that interest, that intrigue of like, oh, how's this gonna look? How's this gonna look? It is just gonna be a dogfight from the get go, and I'm all for it. And then lastly, we got the Vikings and the Bears, where it's two sophomore quarterbacks, one of which got to play an entire season already, the other one which was robbed of that. And they're playing on two opposite sides of the spectrum. The guy that got playing time was on one of the worst teams last year, and then the guy who didn't had his team perform great, and now they're expecting him to step up into the lineup and be the great quarterback, better than what we saw last season even. And that is exciting stuff, especially interdivision, that extra bit of menace to it all.
Yeah. And I am actually, so that's basically all the week one matchups we gotta go through. I'm gonna call a pivot, an audible even on this pick'ems. Check the description, guys. There's gonna be a link to a public pick'ems that you can battle against us in, and you can compete against us in real time. We're not going to go through every single pick every week. It just takes too much time, and I don't think that many people care about it. So every week from here on out, we're going to go through, highlight some of our favorite matchups each week, and then talk about who we think might win, who we think might show out. And then obviously we're going to make our pick'ems every single week through ESPN pick'ems, and I will drop that link down in the description. So if you want to join in on that, if you want to compete with us, participate. There's no trophy or anything, but there definitely will be bragging rights if you do better than we do.
Yeah.
And so
sure.
so we'll have that down below for you, and you can absolutely go check that out and pick your teams for week one. Pick your matchups. If you don't get in from week one, because this podcast will be airing just before Thursday Night Football, so low chance of that. But if you don't get in there, then at least start it up for week two and compete with us there. So I pulled that on Elijah last second. He didn't know I was going to do that, and we'll see.
Hey, that's fun. I like it.
All right, cool.
I'm here for it.
Yeah. And with that, I think that just about wraps up episode 1 or episode 0 of the podcast.
Yep. And if you're wondering what the hell is an episode 0, it's because no football's been played yet. So we kind of name it for the week we're recapping. But with that, been a great one.
It has.
Look forward to the season and look forward to those highlighted matchups.
Absolutely. Deuces.
Deuces.